So we're back at it with some pasta. Right now I'm just getting ready to make the marinade for the mushrooms. I'm going to start off with some coconut aminos, some date syrup, along with some garlic powder, white pepper, and sage. The white pepper is going to be the main seasoning that gets added in here because in my opinion it gives it like a ham sort of taste, and I think that is the most resemblant to smoked sausage. Of course, it's not ham, but it gets us a lot closer in that direction to begin with. So now here we got the mushrooms, and I'm gonna cut these in slices that are about maybe like half an inch tall. And then I'm going to score them. I'm not going to cut all the way through them. These are just like slashes that are on one side of them. And this is going to help the marinade actually seep all throughout the mushroom once they're sitting inside of it. Once I get these inside of the marinade, I'm just going to chuck them inside the fridge, and they're going to sit there while I'm preparing everything else. I usually marinate things for at least 30 minutes and they'll get you good. Honestly, I don't even know what came to me when I said maybe I'll make these, but it really just becomes about trial and error, figuring out what things taste like, especially knowing what your seasonings taste like by themselves, and then just from there, trying shit out, looking at recipes and deconstructing them backwards to understand what's necessary, what's not needed, and what's actually going to make it match the taste that you're looking for. Now I got a green pepper, and the way I slice this pepper down, at the end of the day it's gonna get 8, so I guess that's really all that matters, right? But I just take the pepper, turn it on its side, and then just turn it and make like slices, but it's gonna get diced down. I'm going to dice a green pepper, and I'm also going to dice a yellow onion. I believe I used the whole yellow onion, but I may have only used half of it. I'm not quite too sure. And oh yeah, I'm also going to add some garlic along with it too. Maybe like 4 to 5 cloves of garlic is what's going to get added in here as well. And these are all the things that I'm chopping down now. I'm just showing that the green pepper is getting chopped down. The goal now is to get our mushrooms into the oven and bake at 385. They're probably going to bake for like 20 minutes, but you want to make sure that you flip them halfway. So 10 minutes each side. You want to make sure that both sides get baked. That's the biggest thing. The goal is that once they're able to cook on both sides, then we're going to get them tossed onto a pan. But we need both sides to be cooked and browned. That way, when they get put on the pan for only a few minutes, they start to char basically right away. So, as you can see, they're getting tossed right on the pan. And I maybe did this part for not even 5 minutes. Making sure that once they're here, you also press down on them too. That way they kind of cook a little bit faster, but no different than you would do smoked sausage. You get that char that's on them. We want to make these as similar to them as possible, okay? And I really hope that when I say I'm making these mushrooms like smoked sausage, that it doesn't sound like a super complicated process. As you can see, I've only done 2 things to these, and that's bake them and pan fry them. So it's, other than marinating them, it's just a 2-step process, and really the appliances in the kitchen are doing everything for me. I'm just making sure they get flipped around and that they get took out the pot before they just sit there and burn. It's really brainless work, to be honest with you. So I'm going to do all of this inside one pan, and which is even better because the only other pot that I needed was one to boil the noodles, So now we got our onion up there. Once these cook a little bit of the way, and also pick up some of the residue from the mushrooms, use your flavors. I'm going to toss in the green pepper, and I'm going to let these cook down until we get ready to head to the next step. Telling y'all this, so here goes our best friend, some coconut milk. Some fresh coconut milk is going to get poured right up in here. There goes the garlic too, so that's going to get poured right inside here. But I'm only going to use a little bit at a time. Of course, we want the cream that's sitting at the very top because it's just all the liquid sitting right under it. But by using a little bit at a time, I can make it more saucier over time as opposed to everything just boiling. You know what I mean? And I think that was probably a really smart decision for me to do, as opposed to just dunking all of the coconut milk inside there from jump. That's some of the not chicken bouillon that I'm going to use right there. I'm just going to use 1 cube, let that cook down, and then, like I said, just a little bit at a time. By the end of the recipe, I ended up using the whole can of coconut milk, but like I keep saying, a little bit at a time. Maybe like a tablespoon of tomato paste is going to get added in here. I did have a can of it, but the cans usually come with like citric acid and other things inside of there, and I'm just not the biggest fan of it, so I'll spend a little bit more coin and get the tube that I would much prefer to use that anyways. So this is the part where I'm actually going to add the Cajun seasoning that I have at home. And it's the orange can of the Louisiana. I'm going to get ready to show it in just a second. But I'm going to use a lot of it. That way, as I'm adding in the coconut milk a little bit at a time, it starts to dilute those flavors a little bit more, throughout the cooking process. Here go the mushrooms. They're going to be the last things that I add in there until we get our noodles. Clearly, you can tell I've been adding more of the coconut milk because there's more liquid inside there, but all of this now is just going to stay on a relatively low heat. It's still cooking, still stays hot, but because I took so long waiting to cook the noodles, I still had to wait on those to cook. So here's a close-up of everything. Like I said, now we're going to add our noodles. Noodles are the very last thing. I've added probably the rest of the coconut milk at this time, and the noodles have been rinsed off. After you cook them, rinse them with cold water, and I'm literally just going to mix these around and just let the pot do what it does. Let them soak up the sauce that's inside here. I was really happy that the sauce actually stayed. A lot of times I'll cook things, it kind of seems like the noodles just soak up the sauce and then there's none left, but this, and it probably had a lot to do with the fact that I actually made sure they stopped cooking and were cold before I started working with them, so. That's basically it. I'm just gonna top these with some green onions, but that's it. That's everything right there. Super simple, one pot dish, you know what I mean? And the pot do the work for you, and that's all that ever matters.